Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Mariah.
And I'm Ratidzo.
And you're listening to
Hella Foreign,
the podcast,
where we share a different perspective.
Yes. So we are truly excited for our first episode with a guest.
Yes.
Hey y'all.
Hey y'all.
We are very excited today because we have our first guest.
Yes. It's finally happening. Woo.
Yes, this is just a step closer towards growing the show and getting closer to where we envision it. So I'm truly excited.
Yes. So today on the show, we have my dear friend, Dasarte Yarnway. He is a managing director of his own company called Berknell Financial Group. He's an author and really a financial expert in all things financial. So we're so excited to have him on the show. And Dasarte, thank you so much for taking some time to come on our pod and talk to our foreigners about all things finance.
Anytime. I'm happy to be here, and you guys are awesome. So I appreciate you inviting me.
Yes. So just start off the show, please tell the people who you are, how you got started, where are you from? Like, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, again, Dasarte Yarnway. I'm the founder and managing director of Berknell Financial Group. That's a independent registered investment advisory firm here in San Francisco. We have a couple other offices in Seattle, Washington, and Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I am a first-generation Liberian man, so my parents came from Liberia in the 80s. Came to San Francisco with nothing, and built a life for themselves with my 5 sisters and myself. And I'm trying to teach people through our company and through my writing and through my work on how they can do that for themselves.
Nice. Well, we see you, foreigner.
You know I'm trying.
All the Liberians out there.
I was about to say 5 sisters.
Yeah,
how
it wasn't
was that
easy.
Upbringing? Yeah, I can only imagine.
Well, thank you so much for coming on board again. Do you want to tell just a little few things about Liberia so our foreigners can listen? We love embracing people who are not fully American. So tell us a little bit about Liberia.
Okay, so listen, I went to Liberia in February. So I went for my cousin's wedding.
Okay.
Who was love was in the air. I went for my cousin's wedding in February. He married love of his life, Gladys, in Liberia on Sunset Beach, which is one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen. So I feel like when I propose to my lady, whenever that time comes and I feel like I found the one, right, that's where I want to do it.
All right, ladies, y'all heard that.
So I went to Liberia, and for me, it was like my first time there, right? So I've heard stories about Liberia. I've heard people talk about the war in Liberia. I heard, my mom talk about her upbringing on the Firestone plantation. And as a kid, being in America, you really, especially in that time. So I was born in early 90s, right? 91.
Hey.
It wasn't cool to be African.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't cool. We had the stereotypes like dark skin or African booty scratcher was not cool. Now it's a trend, right? Everybody wants to be from Wakanda. But as I grew up and I grew more in touch with our culture, our family history, I fell in love with Liberia before even touching the soil. So when
beautiful.
I get there, it's this place and people are joyous. People are celebrating, and you got to understand Liberia is one of the poorest countries on earth. So I'm like, why are these people so happy? And from that experience, from being in the sun, from being on the beach, from visiting the villages, they focus on the things that money can't buy. So that's, things like spirituality, things like love and marriage, things like children village, right? And experiences. So I came back from Liberia with a ton of experiences, a ton of knowledge about, just about being a global citizen, and it's probably was one of the most transformative experiences that I think I've ever had.
Gotcha. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes, that sounds amazing. And I feel like that's sort of parallel to Haiti as well, being like one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, and seeing how the people really gravitate towards tradition, family, food, celebrations. So that's beautiful to hear.
Are you Haitian?
Yes, I am. Oh, we
Look at-
should have
you-
started.
Do you speak Creole?
Slightly.
Okay, I won't put you on the spot and ask you to say anything. You know how people do, like, oh, can you say something? I won't.
Don't you hate that?
Yeah, I
hate that.
mean,
for the record, guys, I hate that.
I love that because you wanna give a little sample of their culture. I get it. I ask people all the time. Oh, say something.
Don't ask.
But I
Actually,
understand Creole.
Okay.
And it's very close to French. I actually mix the two together sometimes. Like I'll start speaking Creole and then get into some French and dibble dabble back and forth.
Oh, there you go.
But I have a twin brother and he's like the Creole
Fluent.
yes guru over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's awesome. Oh, we'll definitely have to have a part 2 talking more about our backgrounds and whatnot. But I definitely would love to know how you got influenced or interested in finance and how you sort of were able to be a part of this financial group at such a young age.
Yeah. Now, finance was not something that was like, it didn't come to me easy.
Oh,
In fact, in my neighborhood in San Francisco, it was at that time one of the worst areas to be in. So we had the Geneva Towers, which was like where I was born actually was one of the roughest projects in the city. 20-story buildings, 2 of them that were torn down, I think in 1994. So you can understand like that community didn't get the memo. Like we didn't get the instructions that other communities got to build their wealth. My father passed away in 2003 from terminal prostate cancer. And at that point in my mind, I was like, I have to be something. I have to do something. I didn't know what that impact looked like at that time.
Yeah.
But I just decided to kind of cope with the situation by playing sports. So I played basketball on a traveling AAU team, was fairly successful with that. Got to high school, started playing football. Got a scholarship to Cal Berkeley, right?
Hey,
and that's where me
Berkeley.
and Tidzo met.
Yes.
That's where we met. And it was a great experience. I was very talented, I would say. Not to like toot my own horn, but further along in my career, I tore my ACL. So at this point, I'm like, okay,
Damn.
I promised myself that I would make an impact.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that now? You know what I'm saying? My football career is waning due to politics, due to injury, due to a whole bunch of stuff that is out of my control. How am I going to do that? So I began to kind of apply to all different types of jobs, medical jobs during school in the off season, tech jobs. You know, we're in Silicon Valley, so that was big at the time. Like, what's the next Uber going to be? And finance jobs. And out of like 300 applications, a firm by the name of Fisher Investments gave me a chance. They were like, you know, we like your story, we like your narrative. Come work at Fisher. And you know, they gave me a little bit of money. And I was like, I felt rich, right? Like, okay, 21 years old, graduated early.
I like that, yeah.
Let's go ahead and do this thing. Now I get to Fisher and I see what real wealth looks like. I see what investments look. I see the power of compound interest. I see all these things that I had no idea existed, and I knew my community didn't either, right? So
Yeah.
With that being said, I thought that I was the person, in this case, I was the draft pick, right, using a sports analogy, to go back and give that back to my community. So that's what I did. I committed myself to kind of taking this knowledge and giving it to the people that needed it the most. And I would say along the lines, that's how Berknell was born.
Wait,
Gotcha,
hold
gotcha.
up. Did you study finance in school?
I didn't study finance, so I studied project management.
Project management.
I was going
Wow.
through a phase, right? You know, you're in school and you're like, yo, I'm just trying to get out of here.
Yeah.
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 You know, so you pick whatever, you look at the class schedule, like, okay, I already got 3 of these, I got 2 of these. If I just take one more African American studies class, I'm an Afro major.
Yeah.
Some people did that, right? But for me, I
Yeah.
was just trying to get out of there. I thought I wanted to like build stadiums at one point, so I did project management.
Okay.
You know, and then when you graduate, you get that paper, you're like, where can I get a job? And I was blessed enough to get a job in the financial services industry, loved it, and I'm still doing it today.
That's
Gotcha,
amazing.
gotcha. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing. So I wanted to ask you, so you touched a little bit about like finance in our community. So from your perspective, like what have you seen? Is there like a lot of knowledge out there for our community? Do people really know what finance is supposed to look like? Like tell us a little bit about your experience with like finance in the Black community or lack thereof.
Finance in the Black community. Now, this is a heated debate, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've been blessed enough to kind of watch and talk to people and kind of study behaviors over the last 5 or so years, and especially over the last 3 years that I've been running Berknell. And I'd say it's a couple things. Number one, it's we didn't get the memo. Like, families are talking about this in their households. Like, this is what you need to do to build your wealth.
Yeah.
When you start working as a 13-year-old, I'm going to open a Roth IRA for you and put the money in there because you're earning income. And at some point when you're 22, 24, 25, maybe you have the opportunity to buy a house, or I can help you with a house. Like, these discussions are happening in terms of what money is supposed to do for you, right? So we never got that memo, number one. Number two, we're 400 years behind. And I think we talked about this kind of preliminarily, right? Like, we're just way behind, generations, centuries behind when it comes to like the wealth building, the multi-generational wealth building process. We're still like in that accumulation phase, I would say, versus that transfer stage. And we need to change that. Like, we're the generation to change that. And then number three, thinking long term, I just feel like some people also don't have it in their heads yet that they'll be here for a while. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What if I don't make it to retirement? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what if you do? What if you keep waking up? That's something that you have to plan for. That's something that you have to do, right? So I think those three things kind of cornerstone or are characteristics, key characteristics of our community. And then we can talk about the politics. We can talk about redlining. We can talk about the institutional things too, right? But these are some things that I see that are very evident in our community.
Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely want to sort of go back when you were mentioning how you were able to see what true wealth looks like. So what does that look like? I feel like I just now have been getting into more discussion on stock and things like that, which scares me beyond belief. But like, is that sort of the wealth you're implying? What is that true wealth?
True wealth. So I would say true wealth is kind of like, have you dated a person, right? You date this person and you can tell like something's off with them, like some of the screws are loose or their insecurities are very loud. Like fake wealth is loud. True wealth is quiet, right?
Ooh,
like I'm just
good one right there. I like that. That's a quote for the books.
you better tag me in that tweet, right?
Wait, can you repeat that? Just repeat that for the people one more time.
But true wealth is quiet and fake wealth is loud. So that's what I saw. These people that were everyday people, just very meticulous, very structured, very disciplined. They just put their money away, had a plan, and stuck to that plan. It was very quiet. I don't need to be loud. I don't need all the things that
materialistic, flashy things.
Exactly what we think is wealth. What I need is to have this money work for me so I can reach my goals, whatever that is. And I call that designing wealth on your own terms. They were designing wealth on their own terms. That's number one. And then true wealth thinks like years down the line. Yeah. And I call that thinking big, operating small. That's what true wealth does.
Okay.
Okay.
So those are the two things that I feel like corners, like are key characteristics of people who are trying to build true wealth. So for example, when I started Berknell Financial Group, I had gone from Fisher, had a great experience at Fisher. I was like, hey, this does not house my ambition. Like I need more. Of course, I was coming off a football field, you know what I'm saying? I'm coming off with a chip on my shoulder saying, you know, I gotta do it. I gotta do it in another way. If it's not this way, it's gonna be another way. So I leave Fisher, I go get my licenses at Edward Jones. Okay. I manage 12 mil at Edward Jones. Then I go to HSBC and I manage a huge book at HSBC. And then I think about my life. I'm like, yo, okay, I want true wealth. How do I get that? You know, what do I do? And thinking long, thinking big and operating small, I was like, hey, I'm going to start my own company because one day I want to be able to just leave for 2 weeks and go watch my son play basketball, AAU basketball or something, right? Things that my father wasn't able to do because he was trying to set us up for us to have the opportunity to do so, right? So to me, that's true wealth. That's what I call, that's wealth on my terms, being able to own my time and invest in the people and things that I'd like to invest in, such as my future family, business, community, and things of that nature. So, true wealth can mean a lot of things.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A lot of gems you just dropped for us just now. I'm like trying to like process all of it. Like, oh, okay.
Bouncing off of that, can you just talk about like a couple points you have in advice on how to achieve true wealth? You talked a little bit about just expanding on it just a little bit. Is there like certain investments you should look into that are more optimal than others? Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about financial services and the investment options that are offered, it doesn't really matter where you go. They're going to have the same things that are offered. So a person can get a mutual fund, ETFs, which are exchange traded funds, kind of similar to mutual funds, stocks, bonds, things of that nature. But what is really important to me are the fundamentals. And that's something that we talk about in the book that I just wrote, Young Money. So to me, there are 4 things that people need to have to build this true wealth. Number 1, you have to master your mindset. You have to think and feel differently about money. If you can't do one of those, then you'll never be able to build true wealth. So you have to change the way you think and feel about money. So for example, some people just think that money is used to buy them things. Like it's all about getting things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people feel like money is YOLO. We're in the era of YOLO, right? So you only live once. I'm going to go on all these trips and do everything I want to do. I'm going to take pictures. I'm going to tag Travel Noir. Shout out to Travel Noir. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to think about tomorrow, right? We talked about thinking longevity. Yeah. So you have to change the way you think and feel about money. And there's a way to do both. Have those experiences, but put money in the bank and have it work for you so you can do those things whenever you want later down the line. That's number 1. So we call that mastering the mindset in Young Money. Number 2 is master the plan. You got to have a plan. So when I say designing wealth on your terms, your idea of wealth, your mom, your cousin, your neighbor, and my idea of wealth all look different. So that's going to require a unique plan for you, right?
Yeah.
In this day and age, you go to a new city, you go travel, or you're driving in your city and you don't know where you're going. The first thing you do is you put the address or the destination in your GPS. So why wouldn't you do that for your money? You have to have a plan. You have to have a route. And I think that people don't often think about that. So number 2 is master the plan. And number 3, which is huge in our communities, is master income. Today I was talking to some of my friends that work in New York, and I was like, yo, when you're young, the thing that really matters, some people have it confused. You have to have both active and passive income. We're in the generation where like entrepreneurship is hot, right? But it's also a struggle. Like you have to work extremely hard to get to the point where your income is just rolling. You're just rolling in the dough. So you have to have both active and passive income. We're in the age that you can invest for passive income, invest in real estate if you choose the right market, and we're in the gig economy that allows you to pretty much have a job by downloading an app, right? So you have to be able to master these multiple streams of income. And lastly, which is something that we don't think about at all, is mastering your personal economy. To me, your personal economy is defined by all the things that are important to you that money can't necessarily buy. So these are your family, your kids, your community, your country, right? These are the things, these are the people that you have to pass the baton to and pass the information to, so they can go forth with the wealth that you've built. So we're talking about multi-generational wealth at this point, right? So if you do all those 4 things, then you can start to look at the specifics and the investments to get you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I sort of want to just tag along to that last point and dig into those specifics. You made a great point of being an entrepreneur is definitely really hot right now. You know, grind all night, no sleep, all
team
these
no
tags.
sleep.
Yeah, like team sleep, y'all. I'm about the team sleep, okay? But what are some ways, you know, I started my own consulting firm for HR, organizational development, and project management, and I wanted something to be my own to provide those skills and support for other professionals and entrepreneurs and small businesses. What are some tips you have with in the details of, okay, as an entrepreneur, how do I start that plan and holding myself accountable of making it consistent so I do get to see those get to see those profits in the future.
Right. Entrepreneurship. So when I sit down with my entrepreneurs, it's math, not magic.
Oh, okay.
That's what I always tell them. So like I can't really talk about specifics because I like to say that you can't really prescribe without first diagnosing, right? So like I can tell you what to do on here, but the advice that I would give on a podcast really wouldn't fit all of the listeners, right? Okay. So an acronym that we use for planning, just put it that way, it's called the R.I.T.E process that we use here at Berknell. So say you walk in, you're an entrepreneur, and you're thinking about all the things that you want to do, or you're thinking just about your life, right? The things that we assess in this acronym, we'll start with the R, is retirement. Like, what does that look like for you? Were you saving at your other job? Are you going to keep your other job so you can continue to work on that retirement?
Okay.
The first I is investments. So the way I define investments is the space in between now and retirement. Like, there are going to be goals that you want to achieve. Maybe that even includes starting your business that is going to require money, and you have to save and invest to reach that goal. So some people come and they're like, I want to buy a house in like 5 years, or I want to get married and this is how much the wedding is going to cost. But how are we going to get that money? It's not all going to come from your, $75,000 salary. You know what I mean? Like, we have to figure out ways to save that money up and invest for that. The second I is insurance. Now, this is something that my firm doesn't sell insurance, but it's very important. The Jewish community does this very, very well. Like, their kids will pay for policies for the elders in the community. Like, they all sit down, they have this conversation about wealth, and they say, such and such is getting older, 75, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We should all pitch in and get a $4 million policy, all four of us, and in the event that the unthinkable happens, we'll be able to take this money, take care of our kids, and do things with it. You get what I'm saying? That's
really interesting.
So how do you look at insurance, you know what I'm saying, in terms of like multi-generational wealth building? Okay. So that's the other I that we look at. We look at T, taxes. Consider our tax liability, or for some people that receive refunds, how are we going to use that to our advantage, right? And how can we mitigate taxes through our investments? And that's a whole nother accounting class or a whole nother topic, right? Okay. And then E is fundamental estate planning. So we look at the R.I.T.E process, and then we look at fundamental things like your budget. Do you have enough in your emergency fund? Can you sustain a business for the year, say, if you didn't have any income? If not, how do we save up to do that? So there's a lot of questions that you got to ask. There's a lot of fact finding, but I think that's important for anybody to ask, not just entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Right. Definitely. Okay. I think, I'm just trying to process and swallow all of this down. Got my little notepad like, oh gosh, I have some work to do. But I think this will be a great time to take a quick break and ask a couple last minute questions before we close out the show. And we back. I need to stop singing. But yes, we are back with Dasarte. I loved the first half of our conversation.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm just eating all this up.
Yep.
But I definitely want to know, with hearing about your success with the offices you have here in the U.S., do you plan on bringing it back home to Liberia? And maybe were you able to see some things financially during your visit in February that you want to help grow and elevate your business on?
Absolutely. The thing about investments is that it's a highly regulated industry, right? Okay. So it's a bunch of rules and loopholes that you have to do to bring your business from the United States overseas. But if there's a way, especially with some of the people Africa's a wealthy country, and there's a lot of wealthy people there with multiple properties and like visas in different places, right? So I think there's a way, but that's something that I'll be exploring later this year when I go back. But there's so much to be like grown in Africa. It's one of the most dynamic places ever. So, for example, the example I use is Ghana. Like in this day and age, we had Black Panther, right, earlier this year, and people are interested in like finding their ancestry and learning about, blackness and the origins of the slave trade. And Ghana's done a very good job at making that a business and finding a way to incorporate African Americans to come and experience the place that they're from, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I think that Liberia can do is on the other side, right? So Liberia was established by freed slaves that came from America and tried to create their own land. And a lot of those things are still there, right? The tree that they came back to and carved, and we're like, this is our land. I think that'd be a great start in terms of a business for people to come back, enjoy their land, tour, invest in the land, right? Bring their talents back to Liberia, the engineers, the doctors, the finance people like myself, and kind of build it up. So I think there's a bunch of ideas. It's like a clean canvas that if you have a talent, if you have a skill, if you have a brain, you can go out there and really, really do some help and impact, right? Because out here, it seems like sometimes we're just working to work.
Right, to pay the bills,
right,
make ends meet, yeah.
Out there, I think that you can make a lot of impact, so there's a lot to be done.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing. I wanted to go back a little bit and talk about your book. I know you just published a book very recently. So you want to talk a little bit about like what kind of inspired you to write your second book, actually, and just briefly touch on just a little bit of topics and what you talk about in the book.
Yeah. So we talked about it briefly earlier, just the 4 steps, right? So master the mindset, master the plan, master income, and master your personal economy. But in terms of why I wanted to write the book was that people need the keys. They need the keys to success. They need the information, and knowledge is power, right? I wrote a book before this called Dating Benji, straight talk on improving your relationship with money. And the way I view these 2 books is that Dating Benji was sort of like that prerequisite read before you start a class. So your professor would give you a syllabus, say, hey, read this book before you attend class on Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. That was setting you up for success. Very easy read. Young Money was financial planning 101. And I think that as I grow, as our firm grows, and as people begin to catch on to this movement, the books are going to get complicated, and hopefully that can be your course to help you navigate this space because it's very complex. So I think that the motivation behind the book was really to give people another step in the process, level up, right? So they can grab a hold of their finances.
Gotcha. And just as a follow-up question, do you have any tips for anybody out there who's trying to start a book or a finance book or anything like that? I think, to me, I find it a very unique skill set to have. I can barely write an essay. Can't imagine sitting down writing a whole book. But do you have any tips for anybody out there who wants to write their own book, just as a sidebar?
Yeah, I think that you have to know what you want to write, right? You have to have a theme.
Yeah.
I keep up a lot with like popular culture and different things that are going around. Dating Benji was birthed out of just people talking about their horoscopes all the time. I have 5 sisters, right? So they're like, yeah, you Geminis, y'all be tripping.
That's true, though.
So just having a theme, number one, and then writing. That you have to do the work after that. Yeah. Taking the time to write down thoughts, erase thoughts, edit revise thoughts, and figure that out. I think that writing is the key. A lot of people say, yeah, I want to write a book, but they never pick up a pen or they never open their laptops. And I think that those 2 things are just the starting point for getting it done.
Gotcha.
Look, we live in the age of Google, right? So everything's Googleable.
This is true.
Very true.
If you want to do something, you can literally find the information online. So when people ask me these questions, I'm like, I don't know how I did it. I Googled it. But it can be done.
Yeah.
As a follow-up to that, I feel like not only in finance, because like I was mentioning earlier, to me it's a very heavy, dense, overwhelming topic for me. Even with the whole writing your book, having your own firm, how do you manage it all? I don't want to ask that stereotypical question, but like when you say, oh, well, I wanted to write a book, I had a theme and I Googled it. I feel like when I Google stuff, there's so many resources that pop up. Half of them I end up finding aren't legit after the fact. So it's just a lot of time being not wasted, but I could see how much time that I've taken just trying to understand everything and making the plan. So what are some tips or things that you might have with passion projects, or, especially starting and investing in and focusing on your personal finances? How do you vet, quality resources, and how do you sort of separate all your, side projects?
Wow, that was a heavy question.
It is. My bad.
But in terms of like, I just think that I know that I will not be able to understand everything.
Okay.
Right. So like when I'm looking for resources, I need a few good resources, a how-to, if you will. Right. And when I hit roadblocks and I need questions, like an answer leads you to another question.
Right.
So, how to write a book. I looked at it. I looked at how to put the book on Amazon. And as I had more questions, I continued to research. But I think that starting the process for me, writing, committing to the process, like I'm going to finish this no matter what, really just took me the distance. So I don't think that I need to understand everything. It's kind of like I'll hire a lawyer to do legal stuff. Tell me the basics and I'll hire you to do that. I don't need to know how to do that. So for me, I just can compartmentalize what my responsibility is in getting a project done. And that's how I view it. I don't know if that's a good answer or not, but I know what I know. I look for information. When it's a bridge, I find the information across it, and I keep going one foot after the other.
No, this is good. Very good.
Yeah.
I do have a follow-up question.
Okay. Keep them coming.
It might divert back to, our cultural backgrounds and whatnot. But I sort of liked when you mentioned earlier, with starting your financial journey, you do have to change the way you think about money and finances. Mm-hmm. With, again, mentioning Haiti, everyone's poor. There is wealth in Haiti. And I was able to see that when I was a kid going there, like, oh, there are beautiful homes and, resorts and things like that. But I feel like with seeing how I was brought up by my parents, it's always in a sense of survival. Even when we had money, it's more like, well, you never know when this will be here. So I think now that I'm older as an adult, they're like trying to teach me things like, hey, you should look into getting a CD, or just keep trying to find ways that your money can make money for you. So what are some additional tips and trinkets to use to help continuously change your change your paradigm shift of finances and money outside of just reading? And, I feel like, I'm definitely going to get your book now and use that as a resource to help point me in the right direction. Mm-hmm. But I just feel like as part of our history of not having money or wealth or long-term wealth. But yeah, I don't know if you heard a question in there.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Maybe just hearing your thoughts on that.
That's fine. So this is what you have to do. Books, resources, Googling things, that's what the masses are going to tell you, right?
Right.
But what everybody needs to do when it comes to kind of mastering the mindset, especially when it comes to money, I would say for anything, relationships, money. I compare money and relationships all the time because it is a relationship.
I was going to say, you brought up relationships like 5 times now.
Right. So I would say you need a small win and then you need a big win. And you need to rotate those things over and over again until you get closer to your goals. So a small win would be something like, I'm going to sit down for however long it takes, and I'm going to write a budget. I'm going to download the app for the budget, and I'm going to be on this budget for, the next 2 weeks. This is called the next 2 weeks. And you do that for 2 weeks. That's a win. Like, I did it, right? A big win would be like, in the next 2 months, I'm going to pay off this much, or I'm going to pay off this credit card completely, right? And after you get that small win and then you get that big win, you're like, I can do this. Now, it's nobody's fault but mine if I don't get this done.
True.
And I think that's what people need to do when it comes to changing their mindset, because once you do something, it can be done. Even if you fall off, right? You're like, I can do it. I can wake up and go to the gym. I've done it before, right?
Yeah.
I can stay up late and study. I've done it before. I can do these things. So now it's a choice. So I think small win, big win, small win, big win is the best way to kind of change your overall perspective on anything, but especially with your money.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's right on the money right there. Setting more tangible goals so you can get closer to your end goal. Okay.
I wanted to go back to something you said about like if you sort of like when you're thinking of like your financial resources, ask Google, do your research. Like, what do you research? Like, is it like, can I just Google how to set up my finances, right? Like, what kind of questions should you be asking in order to get the right information?
Okay. I was talking about the book.
I remember you saying, like, no, I got that part, but there's another part too you mentioned about when she was asking about where do you find information outside of your book? If I wanted to, set myself up for success, what would I ask Google?
Well,
for example,
let's start here. I think in this day and age, man, we're in the WebMD era, meaning like if you have a headache, you're gonna Google like symptoms, like illnesses that correlate with headaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to diagnose themselves. There's certain things that you should not research. One of those things, I guess finance is one of those things that you can do to an extent, but after that, you need a doctor to come in and help you.
Yeah.
Right.
Help you. Like, help me. And I think that's what people are like so almost ashamed to do that. Like, you would go, if you had chest pain, you would go, the first thing you would do is go to the doctor. Right? So I think that for finance, it's sort of the same thing. Like, okay, I Googled this, it's not working, or I understand it a little bit, but I need somebody to help me do this. I need an accountability partner. I need somebody to call me quarterly. I need somebody to help rebalance my budget or manage my investments or help me understand why insurance is important. Whatever the case is, you have to ask for help. So I think that, to your point, with money, there's only so much that you're going to understand, but after that, it's a professional's job to help you reach your goals.
Gotcha. That's actually pretty good advice right there, because WebMD definitely misdirects you all the time, makes you feel like you're dying sometimes.
You think you're dying, yo? Like, I got 24 hours. I'm about to buy this plane ticket today.
I have a headache. WebMD makes you feel like you have cancer or something. Like, right. What? No, that's not what's happening. But thanks for clarifying that.
Awesome. I think this would be a great time to sort of let our foreign followers know where to find you, what other services that your firm provides, what other office locations again, just so we could get this financial journey on the road. Yeah.
So one of the things we're excited about here at Berknell is our Wealth Bridge program. So traditionally, financial advice is reserved for the really, really, really wealthy, right? People that have 6 figures, 7 figures in their accounts. We have a department for those guys, but the Wealth Bridge program is for people like you and me, young professionals, millennials, young families that need the advice, but typically don't have all the assets or the money to pay for it. So how we base this department is on subscription, right? So you pay for your Netflix, Hulu, pretty much everything on subscription. That's how we've set it up here. So we're really excited about that. In terms of where you can follow and get more information on me and my firm, there's a couple different ways. On all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I'm at Dasarte Yarnway. That's spelled D-A-S-A-R-T-E, last name Yarnway, Y-A-R-N-W-A-Y. You can also go to my website at DasareteYarnway.com. And our firm is at Berknell.com. So that's www.berknell.com.
Awesome. Do you have any last trinkets for the financial journey or personal financial wealth and growth?
Sure.
That you want to leave us off with?
On the first couple pages, I think it's like page 3 of Young Money, there's a quote that I kind of live by at this point, but it says, set your mind on a definite goal and watch how quickly the universe stands aside to let you pass.
Ooh.
And I think that's where it starts. For your money, for your life, for your goals, whatever the case may be, you have to set your mind on that definite goal. And I guarantee my life is living proof that, the universe will help you get it, will help you get there. So I'm looking forward to watching you guys reach your goals, all of your listeners.
Thank you.
We're going to do it.
Thank you for being a part, too.
Yes. I feel like we're definitely going to have to bring you back.
Please bring me back.
Yes.
We can bring you back later, yeah.
We're amazing. And I'm definitely excited to use some of your notes that you were able to give and see how I can apply it personally and then check back in with you.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Yes. I still need to buy your book.
Yes, everyone, buy the book.
It can be found on Amazon, right?
Amazon, from my website.
Okay.
Barnes & Noble, across the country, so.
Yes.
Okay,
Like the physical copy. Are you still doing the autographs in the book?
The autographs?
Yeah.
Yeah. From my website, you can go there and get it there. It's all there.
Okay, cool. Well, there you have it, y'all. Thank you so much, Dasarte, for coming on the pod, talking to us about finance. You guys heard the man. You know where to find him. We'll definitely bring you back on board later, but thank you so much for coming on.
Look forward to it.
Yes, and thanks for being our first guest.
I know.
Yeah, woo!
And shout out to Liberia. We see y'all.
LIB,
Yeah, we
LIB.
see ya. And we are back, y'all.
Yes, that was so great with Dasarte. Thank you.
Yes, that was Dasarte Yarnway. And again, great example of Black excellence.
Yep.
You know, we do exist. We are killing it out there. We're in every profession. So yeah, very excited. And if you guys are open to sharing your business, your excellence, please reach out to us. We'll definitely love to have you guys join us and get on the episode.
Yep. Share your expertise with us. We love to learn, and there's people 3 out there who could also learn from you. So yes, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you.
Yes. And now we are in our share circle.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, to keep the Black excellence going, sister, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I don't have anything grandiose to share per se, but I did want to give a special shout out to every single person graduating out there, whether it's high school, middle school, college, grad school, your PhD. Congratulations. You guys have worked extremely hard to get to the finish line, and you've made it.
Yes.
So, major congratulations. My roommate is actually just finished his last class of undergrad yesterday. So, Peter, congratulations. And anybody else who's graduating that I know that I missed, congratulations.
Yes. And special shout out to Kaamil, one of our girls who graduated from University of Indiana, Bloomington, yes, with a master's in education. So shout out to Kaamil, and also shout out to Shardan, who also graduated at USC with a master's in social work. So kudos to you guys.
Congrats, friends.
Yes, congrats.
That's my share. What about you?
Yes, for my share, I wanted to keep the finance-esque theme going. So with some of my contracting work, I have been able to learn and help out other organizations and entrepreneurs. So one that I've recently worked with is Tristan William, and he created a business called Cash Flow Calling. And yeah, he has amazing videos, free tutorials, workshops, online YouTube videos on really building your business, being successful, marketing, getting clients, but in a more efficient way. So outside of the grind and hustle, there's a lot more productive ways of getting successful results.
Okay.
So yes, definitely check out his platform. I'll put his website in our description box. Again, that's Cash Flow Calling. And then I also wanted to shout out Vanessa, who is another woman I've been able to work with. Her name is Vanessa Lindsay, and she also has an organization / business related to finances and funding and maintaining a cash flow, and it's called Concept to Funding. That her main office is in Atlanta, actually, but you know, she's also online, and She occasionally comes out here on the West Coast to do some workshops and seminars, and help develop more content on if you have a nonprofit, if you're starting your own business,
Okay.
How to maintain your finances and keep it coming and growing, because people forget a nonprofit is still a business. You still have to pay staff, you still have income and profit to manage. So she's been in the nonprofit community for many years now. If you guys haven't heard, Another Choice, Another Chance is a nonprofit that's been in our community for 30 years in the Sacramento area, that provides mental health, behavioral health, and other therapeutic services for youth and adults.
Okay.
So a lot of her experience and whatnot has come from growing and building that organization. So yeah, definitely check those two out and continue the Black excellence, y'all.
Yes. Be successful. Work hard. In my soft voice.
I know, I'm like, oh, okay. But yes, y'all, thanks for listening. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week.
Yes. Be great.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.